The station loudspeaker announced that the train had departed exactly on time. As people disappeared through the closing doors, one man stood frozen on the platform, watching the last carriage vanish into the distance. He had missed the train by less than 10 seconds. Frustrated, he dropped his travel bag onto a nearby bench, believing he had just lost the most important business opportunity of his career. What he didn't know was that missing that single train would lead him to the one person who had spent nearly 20 years searching for him. By sunset, everything he believed about his past, his future, and even his own identity would change forever. If you believe kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances still exist, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel. Every act of support helps our community continue sharing stories that remind us how extraordinary ordinary moments can become. The bright spring sunshine filled the historic railway station with warmth as travelers hurried from one platform to another. Business professionals checked their watches, families carried picnic baskets, and tourists admired the old stone architecture. Among the crowd stood Alastair Rowan, a 38-year-old civil engineer whose life had become a carefully organized routine. Every hour was planned, every decision measured, and every emotion tucked safely beneath years of discipline. Alastair had grown up in foster care after being separated from his family as a small child. He remembered very little about those early years except a faded image of someone singing softly while holding his hand. Every official record stated that no surviving relatives had ever been found. Eventually, he accepted that some questions would never have answers. He focused instead on building bridges, believing that connecting places somehow helped fill the emptiness inside himself. That morning, he was traveling to another city to present a project that could define the next chapter of his career. A delayed taxi caused him to arrive moments too late. Watching the train disappear left him disappointed, but he decided to wait for the next departure rather than let frustration consume him. Across the platform sat Meredith Hale, a 62-year-old librarian carrying a weathered leather folder filled with newspaper clippings, photographs, and handwritten letters. Every month for almost 2 decades, she visited different railway stations, community centers, and public archives across the country, following the smallest clues in a search many people told her to abandon. Years earlier, Meredith had promised her older sister that she would never stop looking for the little nephew who had disappeared during the confusion following a devastating highway accident. Emergency responders believed the child had been taken to safety, but paperwork errors, changing foster placements, and incomplete records caused him to vanish into the system. Her sister never recovered from the heartbreak. Before passing away, she asked Meredith to keep searching. Meredith kept that promise every single year. As Alastair waited for the next train, a sudden gust of wind scattered papers from Meredith's folder across the platform. Without hesitation, he hurried to gather them before they blew onto the tracks. One photograph caught his attention. It showed a smiling little boy wearing a knitted blue sweater while holding a small wooden toy train. Something about the picture made his heart race. He couldn't explain why. As he handed the photographs back, Meredith thanked him warmly. She noticed him staring at the picture a little longer than expected. She explained that it was the last photograph ever taken of her missing nephew before the accident that changed everything. Alastair felt an unfamiliar heaviness settle inside his chest. The wooden toy train. The knitted blue sweater. For reasons he couldn't understand, those details awakened memories buried so deeply he had long assumed they never existed. He remembered sitting beside a sunny window. He remembered a woman laughing while knitting. He remembered someone calling him by a name he had not heard in decades. Meredith noticed the sudden change in his expression. She gently opened another envelope containing a child's drawing found among her sister's belongings. It showed a bridge stretching across a river with birds flying overhead. Alastair stared silently. Bridges had fascinated him since childhood. No one had ever understood why. He eventually became an engineer specializing in bridge design, believing it was simply coincidence. Now coincidence suddenly seemed impossible. Neither of them rushed toward conclusions. Instead, they spent the afternoon visiting the local records office, comparing dates, adoption files, hospital records, and every document they could locate. Several inconsistencies appeared immediately. A clerical error had changed one digit in the identification number attached to the rescued child after the accident. That single mistake prevented years of records from connecting. Further investigation uncovered something extraordinary. The child listed in the foster care documents shared the same birthmark, birth date, and hospital information as Meredith's missing nephew. DNA testing was arranged immediately. The waiting period felt endless. Alastair returned to work unable to concentrate. Meredith quietly prepared herself for either outcome, refusing to let hope become certainty too soon. Several weeks later, beneath another bright daytime sky, the results arrived. They confirmed what both hearts had already begun believing. Alastair Rowan was the little boy Meredith had searched for almost 20 years. Neither wealth nor success prepared him for the overwhelming emotion of discovering that he had never truly been alone. Meredith embraced him with tears streaming down her face, grateful that she had kept one promise alive when almost everyone else had surrendered hope. In the months that followed, Alastair met cousins he never knew existed, explored family photo albums, visited the small hometown where his mother grew up, and stood beneath the old oak tree she had planted as a teenager. Every story he heard filled another missing piece of his life. He learned his mother had loved reading adventure novels. He smiled through tears because he had always collected those very books without ever knowing why. He discovered his grandfather had spent 40 years building railway bridges. The career he believed he had chosen entirely on his own suddenly felt connected to generations before him. Most importantly, he learned that his family had never abandoned him. They had simply never stopped searching. The discovery transformed more than his personal life. Inspired by his experience, Alastair partnered with child welfare organizations and government agencies to modernize record systems, helping reunite families separated by administrative mistakes. His engineering skills expanded beyond steel and concrete. He began designing digital systems that built bridges between lost people and forgotten histories. Years later, hundreds of families found one another because one man understood how devastating a single paperwork error could become. Whenever journalists asked what inspired his work, Alastair smiled before telling them about the train he missed on an ordinary spring morning. People often called it bad luck. He called it the greatest blessing of his life. Every year afterward, he returned to the same railway station with Meredith. They sat together on the same wooden bench where scattered papers first crossed his path. They watched trains come and go, smiling at strangers rushing toward destinations they believed they had planned. Both knew life sometimes writes better journeys than any timetable ever could. Before we reach the end of this story, we'd love to hear from you. Please leave a meaningful comment and tell us, do you believe that some missed opportunities are actually life's way of leading us toward something even greater? As the afternoon sun bathed the station in golden light once more, Alastair looked at the tracks stretching into the distance and realized that the train he thought he had lost had actually carried him exactly where he needed to be. Not to another business meeting, but back to the family that had loved him all along. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Together, our community can remind the world that hope often arrives disguised as disappointment. Sometimes the greatest turning points in life don't happen because everything goes according to plan. Sometimes they happen because one train leaves without us, giving destiny just enough time to place the right person on the same platform at exactly the right moment.